Thought this week I'd use this image of sailboat. So last week I did for anybody who wasn't here, it was a drawing demo. I can't remember quite which one I did, but I did a demo of drawing boats either head on or side on, and also drawing boats that is more of a kind of 3/4 angle where you see a little bit at the top, a little bit at the side, maybe a little bit at the back. So that was really to try and get you looking at the sort of shapes we're looking at and the relationships within boats. So this week I thought I'd use this image, sailboat. So this was, I took this from Southend Pier when the barge race was on a few years ago. And what I've done is I've just basically just kind of sketched this out. I made this one a little bit bigger than it appears in the photograph because I didn't particularly want those bits. And if I'm with pastel pencils, I've actually drawn it about 4 times. It kept getting too big. So it's nice to use a pastel pencil because I can very quickly wipe areas out. So that's a nice thing about that. If we get the proportions or anything wrong. Started with this boat and then a little bit of this one, then got the horizon line in relation to the boat. So it's the same sort of approach, go for the more complicated shapes and then go for the simpler shapes. And then I thought, I haven't used acrylics for a long time, I haven't used them this year, since before the summer I don't think, because all this was empty. So I thought I'd do a little bit of acrylics for any of you that are working with acrylics. It's very, very much the same as, really to be honest, how I was working with the oils. I think what I'm going to do today is work from the background to the foreground, and I'll work a little bit around, maybe around this one. So towards the horizon, the colours are a little bit more pinky, a bit more yellowy. So adding the tiniest bit of magenta and a little bit of a yellow into that. And then what I want to do then is really work quite quickly to change the mix as I go. So I won't try and paint the whole board, but I think that's here. Now that seems a little bit too bright, so let's just dull that down a little bit. You're like, right. Totally too bright.
I think you can hear that.
I'm going to tie my hair is going. But that's a bit closer to the tones. So just going to try and work fairly quickly. This board might be a little bit too dark in a way. What I find with acrylics really pays is to get a good quality white. So the one I've got, it's not the most expensive, but it is an artist quality one. It's a Spanish made Vallejo. And I got this from Jackson's, and I find this is just so, if you're using acrylics, it's such a game changer. Because most of these whites are so insipid and transparent, and if you want to put one colour over another, it's near impossible. Particularly the really cheap ones you get from the pound shops and the works and things like that. Really not really worth looking at. So that would be a little bit of background. We'll add a little bit of blue to that, and while that's wet, I should be able to just kind of blend that in a little bit. But obviously working quite quickly, this is going to dry. So that's ultramarine blue I've got there. Work that in, probably wants to come into about there, I think. You notice I'm slightly going over the drawing, but I can, that's not the end of the world. I can redraw this as I go. A little bit of the sea now. So I'm going to use the same blue mix and just darken it a little bit. Perhaps a little bit of brown in there to grey it down a little bit, and probably some green in the distance. So going there. One thing that's a bit of a challenge with acrylics is that they do dry a little bit darker. So you'll find you might have to go back over areas and just lighten them up a little bit. What happens is because it's like a wet medium, whereas with oil paints the colours pretty much stay the same tone, you'll find that this will possibly dry a little bit darker. So I'm working some lights into that as well. And then as I work my way down, I'll look at this whole area at the same time. Perhaps go a tiny bit lighter. Working, it becomes a little greener, so I've got some green here, probably out of the tube green that I'm going to just add into the mix. Tiny bit more brown just to darken it down a bit, and hopefully that will start to resemble some of the colours and tones I'm seeing here. I think this area of the reflection, I'll just work that like that, and then paint the reflection into that. And while the paint's still wet, I'll try and add some of the reflection. So again, that's gone greener still, some brown and some green in that. I'm just trying to soften the brush marks out so that they're resemble the reflections you've got there. Right, so I think I'll leave that and perhaps just do a little bit of the boat now. So I'll change to a slightly smaller brush. So that was all with a brush about 1 inch wide. Not much smaller, but just something to give me a little bit more definition, perhaps this one. So we've got a creamy coloured sail there. So some white and some yellow ochre and a tiny bit of colours. I think this is where the background is going to be too light. Let's darken that down a bit. Smudge that in a bit with my thumb. Because actually I want that sail to pop out. A tiny bit of brown as well on the edge. Wipe that to clean it up a little bit, and then just some pure white because the sun is coming this way. I'm just catching the front of that sail, something like that. And then the rest of the sails are really quite dark, as you can see. I'm going to use some burnt sienna and some ultramarine blue and a little bit of raw umber too. Get a nice darkish kind of browny colour. So a flat brush, this one I probably could do with a slightly newer brush really. This one's a little bit, lost its shape a bit. At this stage, I could wait for that all to dry, because actually it would be easier if the background was dry there. For the purpose of the demo, I'll keep going.
Have you ever done acrylics plein air, or have you just done plein air with your traditional oils?
Not if I can help it.
No, because the rate it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind trying.
Yeah.
Just to see if I can. I think the only time I did that was a magazine wanted an article on painting acrylics after all, so I did have a go just for that, but it dries so quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
It's probably quite nice just as an underpainting, and I did try that once, and that kind of worked. It's just that when I actually needed it, it rained and then it washed the acrylic off. So I kind of tried it as a practice, worked fine as a practice. Then that was during the pageant, you know, in 2012. And I thought, well, I'll do the underpainting in acrylic and then put the oils over the top. But as soon as I got the acrylic on, it started raining and it started hitting it and washing it off. So that didn't work very well at all.
Yeah, you're not selling it to me then, really.
No. I was going to try. One of the other things that prevents me from doing it is taking two lots of paint out.
Yeah.
And there's so much I carry anyway. It's just the carriage thing. It's the sort of thing I could probably do around here a little bit more rather than when I go further afield. Because when I go up to London to paint, I try and fit it all in one rucksack. And taking acrylics, then you've got to have water as well for them, and so it's more the logistics of it. But it might be a good idea. Certainly for the underpainting stage, because you could then get some background in. Let's come down a bit more, and then that can dry, and then you can paint the other colours over the top. But what I do tend to do is use some faster drying oils. So I use like a white and maybe a brown or grey that dry quickly, and then I can always work over the top of those. So just the same sort of thing. So something along the lines of that. Just got that last. What's it to go in? Just imagine your rubber. You could work into this a little bit more. There's a little bit of lighter reflection can go in there, and then obviously details and the like. Yeah, basically how I work with acrylics. So blocking in quite quickly if you can. I find that when I see people's paintings that just don't look great with acrylics, it's when you use little tiny brushes and it kind of holds every mark. If you can get some areas smoothed out. I suppose the other way is to use the paint in a more textured way. Acrylics work very nicely in that way, using big brushes, big marks, thicker paint. That can look quite nicely. Yep. Okay, good.